What's up guys, Elzado here, playing a bit of Assassin's Creed Syndicate today, and I got onto the topic in my mind, I do that sometimes, of whether or not it's actually a good simulation of what English life is like in the time period. Now, obviously I'm not saying I'm from the time period, but I've got a reasonable estimation after doing history, English history and stuff as part of my curriculum. And basically I wanted to discuss whether or not this game is, either an actual good point of, English heritage, or is it just another one of those Americanized ideals of how English life is portrayed. Basically, I think it's a fair balance. I think there's definitely... They've tried to play to the American idea of Britain and how the British act and talk and walk and stalk. But I also think that they have got on certain areas of it right. I'll start with the areas that they got right first. And again, I don't have a full-on grasp of English history, but I know enough to go by. And basically the importance of the train system is the peak of the time period. During industrial England, trains was it. Trains was the key get around. And by having their own train, the gang that you're a part of, the Rooks, they've implemented the importance of, train travel and how it was essential to communication and delivery of substances, etc. What I'm doing here is child liberation now. Child work was a big problem again, although if you speak to people from the era who are still alive, they may argue that child liberation wasn't really needed. A lot of children in the workforce wanted to be in the workforce. A lot of children were leaving school from an early age. Now it is immoral and wrong, but the idea that these children were slaves is probably not that correct. This is a bit further on from the time period of that, but that would have been a worry. Now, also, the thing they got right was a lot of the British iconic characters that you can see in the game, Dickens, etc. The stories based on their books and stuff. It's quite interesting, and it's a good reflection of what Britain has offered to the world through Charles Dickens, etc. and Darwin as well, knocking about, doing his crazy stuff. That leads me to the cons of it in terms of what I'm not really sure what they're doing with certain areas. When they had Karl Marx in the game, I don't know if you guys have discovered him yet, but Karl Marx is in the game, and you're helping his advocation of the proletariat and for the workers' system. And as far as I'm aware, Karl Marx's communist ideas was not something that was part of London's rich history. So they have fabricated things, but of course the whole game is a fabrication of history. That's the point of Assassin's Creed, and that's what's so good about it. On to the actual idea of what the Britons were like. They've got a mixture of very dirty, classic post-wartime clothing of poverty and so on that people have to wear, but they've also combined it with the rich wandering around with the poor, and as far as I'm aware there was a big mass of segregation. You wouldn't really see the rich wandering around the streets with the little blighters, little lads talking like this with the Cockney rhyming slang and they're doing their thing. And you wouldn't quite see it like that. And also they've done, this is where the Americanization comes in. They've gone with the whole accent thing. They've really full on super over cockneyed the poor, and then modernly, yes, we rich talk a minds like this. And British London was a very perfect time to be around in at this point in history, because we all walk around with canes and top hats. Now, I do believe that is how we do the things that we do in London times, you see. We slave children for our workforce, and we walk around with top coats and top hats. But overall, I'd say it's a great, not great, but it's a good representation of London, and they haven't totally sold out the ethics. So yeah, overall guys, that's it. What do you think?